I've always been one of the few women in the room at work, and early on I decided that I just had to go with the flow. After all, I couldn't change it. So the typical back and forth at the start of meetings, the latest sports scores, the nicknames, the banter, I just let it wash over me. I learned to disconnect, to check my phone, to do anything that didn't make me look as excluded as I felt. And if the start of the meetings weren't bad enough, the actual meetings were worse. When no one else looks like you, it takes courage to speak, to not worry how you'll be received. And then when I finally would speak, the men would talk over me. And it was just as bad outside those meetings. I saw women getting less opportunities, being judged on perceptions and assumptions instead of performance. If I had money for every time I heard, she has too many responsibilities at home, or she needs to be less sensitive, or she won't want this role because it's too demanding, I would be rich by now. No one said the same things about the men.
I thought I knew the issues women face at work. I was self-aware. After all, I had my wife to ground me. She works full-time, and I saw her journey. I really believed I understood, and I was doing everything I could. It was that opening part of the meeting where we all talk about what we did the night before, but Kai was just sitting there looking really alone and sad. And when she spoke in the meeting, I realized that everyone, myself included, didn't really listen to her. So I didn't hear a great point she made. I only heard it 5 minutes later when John said the same thing. That night I told my wife, and she said something that made me think. She said, "You haven't walked in her shoes, so why don't you try talking to her and listen?" It's no fun being an outsider and being treated differently because of your gender. But you could be an ally. You could help change things.
When Leo approached me, I was surprised, and then honestly, a little uneasy. I didn't know whether I could trust him and really say how I felt. But then I realized he genuinely wanted to understand. I thought he could be an ally for those who needed it, so I told him, and Leo really listened.
Kai really opened my eyes. She made me see things from a whole different perspective, and I realized there were moments where I could make a difference. This wasn't about me rescuing her. This was about me being visible and vocal and calling out things that weren't right. So at the next meeting, when the banter started, I moved it onto more relatable ground that included Kaya. And as for the jokes, well, sometimes I called it out in the moment. Other times I'd speak to the person one-to-one, spell out to them the effect their words were having on other people, including me. And if someone tried to speak over her, I politely asked them to wait. Gradually, people have started to change. I don't always get it right. Sometimes I'll think of another thing I should have said or done, but mainly, I think I'm doing okay. I'm doing something. I'm being an ally. Are you?